We're going to call to order the meeting for this afternoon. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ruth Cox.
Here.
Christian Evans.
Here.
Joe Klotz.
Here.
Ellen Sheridan.
Here.
Trip Yerd.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have the reading of the minutes, or do we want to dispense with the reading of the minutes for today?
We do not have any minutes presented at this meeting.
Okay, so we will dispense with those for today. We're going to look at those minutes and see if there's any corrections or anything that needs to be made to them?
They're just not ready to be reviewed yet,
Okay.
so they'll be presented at the following meeting.
Okay. All right, as an introduction to the hearing today, the Historic Preservation Commission is a public commission appointed by the City of New Bern's Board of Aldermen. It is responsible for preserving and safeguarding New Bern's locally designated historic districts, downtown and Riverside, based on the U.S. Department of Interior standards, state statutes, city ordinances, and New Bern's historic guidelines. Two of the major tasks of the HPC include approving applications for a certificate of appropriateness and preventing demolition of historic structures due to neglect. The HPC holds a quasi-judicial hearing on an application for a certificate of appropriateness. The Commission hears sworn testimony and evidence provided by the applicant, by parties who received notice of the hearing, and by others who can justify that they have relevant evidence and are directly affected by the application. The Commission cannot consider comments based on personal likes or dislikes, hearsay, or personal opinion that cannot be directly related to specific historic guidelines. Likewise, commissioners shall refrain from stating personal opinions, personal likes or dislikes, or hearsay during a hearing. The Commission's decisions on applications is based solely on testimony and evidence presented at a hearing that directly relates to the historic guidelines. Do you want to swear in any presenters?
Sure. Anyone who's planning to speak tonight, could you please approach the podium? Chris, are you going to be speaking tonight? If you could repeat after me, I swear that the testimony I give tonight will be the truth to the best of my knowledge. Thank you.
Here's a summary of how we will generally conduct a COA application. The HPC administrator provides an overview of the application. The applicant or representative presents the application. Proponents and opponents who receive notice of the hearing can present evidence. Rebuttal is allowed by the applicant and by the proponents and opponents who receive notice. Others who can justify that they have relevant information and will be directly affected can present evidence. The HPC administrator presents the staff's findings and recommendations. The applicant representative has an opportunity to make final comments on their application. Commissioners discuss the evidence and may ask for clarification from the applicant or the presenters. The chairman calls for a motion to approve or deny the application with stated finding of fact. The motion is discussed by the commission. Chairman can call for a vote on the motion by the commission. A COA can be approved, approved with conditions, or denied. We will go to the first application.
The first application tonight is 609 New Street, and it is to include the replacement of the roof to a standing seam metal roof on the primary structure and shingles on the garage, and removal of a vent and installation of a new roof vent. the applicant's here to speak tonight.
Okay, and because I am the applicant, I'm recusing myself and trotting down there to tell you all about the roof. I think you might have to vote on that.
We do? I'm waiting for you to mosey along.
All right then.
All of us in favor of her recusing herself? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are no nays. So we have one conflict of interest, and she has recused herself. Any other conflicts of interest for 609 New
There's
Street?
fine.
No, ma'am.
Hearing none, we will ask for the applicant to present the application.
Okay, so I have.
Now, were you sworn in when he swore in people?
Oh, yeah, you should,
Oh, okay, I was thinking because I was sworn in forever.
No.
That's wrong.
I didn't see you come up, that's why I was asking.
Okay. So,
do you swear that the testimony you give tonight will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. The roof on a house that I have purchased at 609 New Street is from its construction in 1939, and I have also left some photos, there's some additional photos of that roof. And here's some, if you'd like to add these. Sure. And so,
You want to switch back and forth? This goes to overhead. This is still.
oh, okay. So, I'm going to see if I can bring this roof in a little bit closer for y'all. This is the roof from across the street, and it has holes that are in it. It's rusted all the way through. And so the additional pictures are these, which are close-ups of said rust. And so there you go. There is also a vent that you can see in the middle of the top of the roof, and the only other vent like it I could find was on the fish house, kind of near the History Center. So I think it's an old commercial thing that someone kind of brought home from work and installed on the roof. So what is going back on, I hope, is another standing seam metal roof. This is the roof of the garage, which is also pretty shot. And that garage is in the far, far corner of the lot that backs up to a very tall fence that is shared with the Baptist church behind this house. So that's a structure that's never seen unless you're in the backyard looking for it. And this is a note from a second contractor saying the roof is shot. So I'm putting another standing seam roof on the house if I can. And that's it.
That's it, you're done.
I am.
Okay. All right. Is there any testimony from anyone who has been notified who is a proponent of this roof change? Seeing none. Is there testimony from anybody who was notified who is an opponent to having this new roof put on? Seeing none, so we don't need a rebuttal, because nobody has come forth to testify. Is there anyone who has relevant evidence and has standing that would like to bring forth any information? Seeing none, Will the HPC administrator provide any staff findings and recommendations regarding this COA?
Sure. So for this project, staff submits the following historic guidelines as appropriate to this application. Roofs 4.5.1, 4.5.2, 4.5.3, and 4.5.6. Statements of reason based on the information contained in the application and staff's judgment are the proposed project is within all the areas of visual concern. The historic district guidelines recommend the retention of historic fabric when possible. Removing the vent and replacing the roof on the garage with a different material does not honor this guideline. Staff recommends the commission approve the application for major exterior alterations at the time, with the exception that the vent on the primary structure be replaced with an in-kind replacement, and that the garage roof also be replaced with an in-kind standing seam metal roof, citing the aforementioned guidelines.
Thank you. Do we have any evidence or testimony from anybody from a state, city, or government body in the audience? Seeing none. Ma'am, do you wish to make any final comments?
The vent that's on the roof is non-functional. It's not wired to anything. It doesn't do anything. It's not in keeping with any other roof on any residential structure anywhere in New Bern. So it doesn't serve any purpose of any description. It's from something that used to be in the attic that is no longer there.
Sure.
So it just doesn't serve any purpose.
And you're speaking of the turbine on
Yeah,
the roof.
the only turbine I could find on any structure in New Bern was on the fish house across from the,
I do want to let you know that there are 2 turbine roofs on Metcalf, right across from the Triumph Palace at 216 and 218 and 214.
okay, well, I mean, this turbine just doesn't work.
I know, but I'm just letting you know there
Okay,
are some
all right.
houses
I mean,
that-
if it was part of an attic fan that was cooling the house, I would be all about it. But this house, because it has fan lights on either side of the chimney, doesn't have gable end vents because the chimneys are on either side of the gables. I don't know if you can see that in this. But there are no gable end vents, so there's nothing drawing air in for it to exhaust out. So it just doesn't serve any purpose. So, I mean, I could put something back, but there just isn't a reason to do that. Because it's
Part of the question is whether that turbine, or whatever we want to label it, represents a significant architectural feature and is consistent with when the house was built.
It's from like the 60s, so that's 30 years after the construction of the house. Or maybe in the 70s. I mean, it's something someone brought home from,
Do you have a picture of it?
it's here.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
It's in this picture.
Never mind.
And here's a little clearer picture.
It's that little round thing right there.
Yeah, so it's an old attic fan, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Pretty good shot.
What it looks like is a non-functional attic fan or something of that nature. It's not decorative, like, it's not like a whale that's telling you where the wind is coming from, or a cupola or something. It's an old appliance.
But there's some other houses.
You want to say something about it?
I
Discussion?
really
about it?
have no opinion about it. I did not, was not available to participate in design review, so I don't know if the board talked at any length about it.
Well, just to the extent that one of the questions we had was there a way of ascertaining when that was put on the roof? Was it put on the roof consistent with when the house house was built, or was this something that came after? And if it was there when the house was built, then I would consider it part of the design, whether it's good or bad design,
Right.
part of the design. If it was something that was added later because somebody found it in a junk shop and thought it was attractive, then that's a whole different story.
No, I don't think it's either of those. I
Well,
think it's,
I
you
think-
know,
think you can
somebody's
still purchase them.
HVAC guy, you know,
I
stuck
think
it in
you-
there to vent the attic at one point, but that no longer functions.
And there are 3 houses on Metcalf.
Oh, yeah,
that-
well, I think,
that- From 1906, 1907, and 1913 that has that on the house,
Yeah.
and they're still there.
so you can purchase something that looks just like that today,
Oh, yeah.
so I don't think it's a particularly special artifact, but, we can talk more about that. Again, I did not attend design review. Can you tell me a little bit more about the roof you want to install?
Just a standing seam metal roof in
With
black,
a-
I think.
With a flat pan,
Yeah, of course.
and what kind of seams? Probably
Just a-
rolled seams?
Oh, yeah, real rolled seam. I wish David were here. He is not.
That's
He's on
okay.
his job site.
And would it have ridge and hip caps?
My
So-
understanding is that we don't really want ridge
Okay, well, that's the right answer. Just,
demarcation, so no.
I was setting you up.
No, so, we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna replace in kind, and, that went on in 1939, so
Yeah.
it's served its useful life as best it can. But if we can have the bats no longer flying into the house, that would be a really good thing.
Yeah, man. Well, if you're looking for a vent, I don't think the ridge vent is terribly functional and/or
Significant.
significant to the roofing, although if there's a strong opinion, I certainly wouldn't make issue of that.
My biggest problem, and I'm gonna back up just a little bit, is that because of where it is, rather than looking at the house, it's like somebody who got a zit kind of in the middle of their nose. You go straight to it.
Well, I guess the question is, does it have some architectural feature to it?
I think
You
it
know,
just
as you suggested, and there's nothing architectural about this, I don't think. Are there chimneys on both ends? Is that a chimney there on
Yeah,
the left hand?
and
So
so
there's
that's
a
the thing,
chimney
so
on
there-
that end, and you
The
can't
chimney
see
on-
this end.
No, there's actually a really truly wonderful ginkgo tree that's shielding you.
A what?
Really wonderful ginkgo tree that's in that yard,
Okay.
so that's, but there is a chimney at the other end. And then the chimneys have fan lights
These.
down on the attic level on either side. And so there are no gable end vents because there's a chimney there and there are fan lights there. So there's nothing to draw outside
To
air
draw
into
into
this
okay.
attic.
So it's unclear what this vent up there,
Well, yeah, that
Emma
makes
was
it
doing.
extra confusing.
unless it was changed over time as well.
Which, that looks like sort of, people started running around putting those on houses kind of in the 60s. And so, at some point, the house got central air, and they probably stuck something in that vented the attic, because at one
Okay.
point that was all the rage.
Okay.
And then, but whatever that equipment was is not there anymore.
So in the recommendations, is there a recommendation related to this, I'm gonna call it an event? I don't know
Yeah.
what to call it.
The staff
A
recommend-
turbine?
The staff recommendation is to retain that particular feature. If you determine that it's not like a particularly architecturally important feature, then by all means, feel free to recommend that they remove it, but that's
Okay.
really for you guys to determine.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any other questions they want to ask?
Just to confirm, your application says you want to put fiberglass asphalt shingles on the shed?
Mhm. Because there is nothing more tertiary in the world than that shed.
But everything on the main building would be traditional standing seam, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Yeah. That poor shed is really.
The shed presently has a standing seam roof, right?
It does. It's also like, kind of like that. And there's, I think you have a picture up there that I may not have brought down here that has the light coming through the side of the shed. Because it's full of holes.
This one?
Yeah, I really love this shed. But at the moment, it would be a preservation professional's object lesson in demolition by neglect because it's in such incredibly terrible shape. So there's light coming through the side, and the back corner is about 2 inches lower than the front
Front,
edge.
okay.
And it's not on a foundation back up in here.
Okay. And you're putting shingles on this versus the tin roof that it originally had because?
It is way the heck in the back of the yard, and no one ever sees it, and it costs a whole lot less.
So you're doing it related to cost? And
Yeah, I'm preserving the shed, which is gonna
Okay.
require jacking it up and
Okay.
putting a new foundation under it and replacing the siding. It's difficult to get to the back side of this shed because it's about this far from the fence of the church, Tabernacle Church, backs
Okay.
onto this property, or I guess we back onto it more correctly.
Right.
But, and the church, because they have a preschool playground kind of right on the other side of the fence, has a very, very high fence indeed between the two properties.
Okay. All right. Anybody, any other questions on the commission that you want to ask at this time? Okay. So I call for a motion to approve or deny the COA. Somebody like to make one?
No, I want you to.
Okay. I'll move.
Thank you.
I move that we find the application for 609 New Street to be not incongruous with New Bern's Code of Ordinance Sections 15411 and 15 through 15429 and New Bern's Historic District Guidelines based on the following specific guidelines and findings of fact. The applicable guidelines, we have roofs 4.5.1, 4.5.2, 4.5.3, 4.5.4, and 4.5.6. Findings of fact that the existing standing seam roof is beyond repair and is going to be replaced with a like standing seam roof that satisfies the requirements of the guidelines. The shingle roof that's proposed for the shed is permitted within the guidelines, and conditions that I would add to that would be merely that the vent, or whatever we want to call that thing on top of the roof, may be removed when the roof is installed.
Second.
Okay. Is there any other discussion that we need to have at this time?
I'd like to suggest that we add guideline 5.5.6, which is the, allows the asphalt shingled roof in lieu of standing seam metal.
Okay, does everyone understand the motion?
Mhm.
Okay. So I call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. So the motion passed. Can I have a motion to issue a COA?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. So your COA has been granted.
Thank you very much. New Street will thank you as well.
So we're waiting for our member to get back in her voting position.
So we may rush.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So if you would provide us, sir, an overview of the next application?
Yeah, we're going to actually move to item C, if that's okay, because the representative for item B is not present right now.
Okay, we'll go to C then.
So that is item C, 600 Edgerton, to include the construction of a new single-family residence and garage on an open waterfront lot. And Sarah Appleback is here to represent the project.
Are there any conflicts of interest from anyone on the board?
No, ma'am.
Does anyone have any issues with the application and its completeness?
No.
Hearing none? Sarah, if you would present your application.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to see a change on the board or smaller board here tonight.
We just have some missing tonight, but we have enough to hear you.
Well, most of you have seen this project a few times before, and Tripp has not, but I'm sure he can catch up. The project is down the end of Edgerton, at this lot right here, and it has previously been approved. And it's going too fast right here. Let me get to goodness. Let me just come to the site plan first of all. I just want to point out that there is a park down the end of Johnson Street, and it's marked on the plan right here. So it's roughly 25 feet back from the corner. And what we are proposing, a change in the plan, is most notable on the first floor above grade, which I cannot seem to scroll to. Not sure. Okay, so what we have done is enclosed this portion of the porch, which was previously part of the rear screened-in porch, added a small little cover over the back door here, and pushed the front wall out a few feet in this direction and in this direction. So we still maintain the L of the front porch, enclosing this area so that the owner can get a new bedroom on this level. And from the elevations, it's most notable right here, where this portion was previously a screened-in porch. It's now enclosed, but the bulk of the front elevation remains the same. So this portion was enclosed. The screened-in porch is still on the rear. And we've added this small canopy on the back. And those are the changes that we have made to this previously approved project.
You done?
I am done. Thank
You are done. Okay. Thank you very much. So is there anyone who has been a notified proponent of this project who would like to speak? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who is a notified opponent of this project? Seeing none, I guess you have no rebuttal since no one has been out there to ask you questions, okay? Is there anyone who has relevant evidence or has standing who would like to present? Seeing none. Would the administrator please provide staff findings and recommendations?
Yeah, staff submits the following historic guidelines as appropriate to this application. Guidelines for development patterns 2.1.1, 2.1.2, 2.1.3. Foundations 4.1.1, 4.1.2, 4.1.3, 4.1.4. Walls, trim, and ornamentation 4.2.1, 4.2.2, 4.2.3, 4.2.4. Windows, doors, and openings 4.3.1, 4.3.2, 4.3.3, 4.3.4, 4.3.5, 4.3.6, 4.3.7. Entrances 4.4.1, 4.4.2, 4.4.3, 4.4.4, 4.4.5 roofs, 4.5.1, 4.5.2, 4.5.3, 4.5.4, 4.5.5 decks and patios, 4.6.1, 4.6.2, and 4.6.3. Statements of reason based on the information contained in the application and staff's judgment are the proposed project is not incongruous with the guidelines. Staff recommends the Commission approves the application for major exterior alterations at this time, citing the aforementioned guidelines.
Is there anyone from the city, state, or government body that would like to make a comment? Seeing none. Members, what questions do you have? What discussions do you want to make about this?
So I think this is infill,
It's infill, yes.
and so are the materials from the prior approval consistently used with the
Yes.
changes you've made to the application?
Yeah, there's no change in material, and no change in location. It's really just enclosing some of that porch space on the first floor, and bumping that front wall out a little bit more and adding the back canopy. But everything else, the shape, the mass, the scale, the materials are all the same.
So just giving this house a fourth bedroom.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Anybody else, any questions?
Very straightforward.
Can I call for a motion to approve or deny the COA?
Actually, this would be an amendment, wouldn't it? To COA?
Yes.
The amendment, yeah.
An amendment?
Hmm?
You're right, an amendment to the COA. Someone like to make a motion?
I make a motion that we move for this amendment for 600 Edgerton Drive, New Bern, a certificate of appropriateness, not being incongruous with the New Bern's Guide of Ordinance, Section 15-411 to 15-429, and New Bern's Historical History Guidelines, based on the following specific guidelines, which goes with the guidelines for developing patterns, 2.1.1, 2.1.2, 2.1.3, foundations, 4.1.1, 4.1.2, 4.1.3, 4.1.4, walls, trims, and ornamentation, 4.2.1, 4.2.2, 4.2.3, 4.2.4, windows, doors, and openings, 4.3.1, 4.3.2, 4.3.3, 4.13.4, 4.3.5, 4.3.6, 4.3.7, entrances, 4.4.1, 4.4.2, 4.4.3, 4.4.4, 4.4.5, roofs, 4.5, 1.51, 4.5.2, 4.5.3, 4.5.4, 4.5.5, decks and patios, 4.6.1, 4.6.2, 4.6.3. And in the reasons of findings of fact, the proposed project is not incongruous with guidelines.
So we have a motion to approve the amendment. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any other discussion? Is everybody clear on what we're voting on? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Being none, the motion has passed. Can I call for a motion to issue a,
It has a permit.
Yeah,
So
We don't have to make one for this?
No, the CO is issued, so it doesn't need to be issued a new one. We've just approved the amendment to the COA.
So we don't have to.
So
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So item D is 715 East Front Street, and that is to include raising the structure 4 feet, the addition of new deck railing and access steps, the removal of a portion of the building, and the replacement of a portion of the roof. And Charles Francis is here to represent the project.
This project, we have such a short agenda, I can't believe I have 2 things. This project is directly across the street from where I live. So I think I actually have to recuse myself all over again.
Did you receive a letter?
I did not.
You didn't receive that?
No.
It's a good thing you're here.
I'll look into that.
But I looked at this every day.
But being directly across the street,
Within 100 feet.
within
Yeah,
100
she should.
feet,
She
That
should.
counts.
Yeah, she
she
should
should recuse
recuse
herself.
herself. Yeah, to
Goodbye.
avoid a.
I swear I think I'm going to have separation anxiety.
So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Say aye. Okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none.
Closing on down.
Waiting for her to find her new seat.
To make it permanent.
It's a pleasure.
Okay. Sir, it's all yours.
Okay, this is 715 East Front Street. It's owned by Mr. and Mrs. Richard McDermott. And they live at,
Speak up, Charles.
they live in Queens Point. And I will show you some photos of the structure as it is existing.
I just want you to speak up into the mic.
Let's see if we can move this
Perfect.
over. Is that better?
Thank you.
How about, let's pull that up. Okay.
Perfect.
As I started to say, Mr. and Mrs. Richard McDevitt's house at 715 East Front Street. This is not a house that they live in. This is a house that they rent. And it is formed exterior walls of concrete block with industrial-looking window sash that has been replaced within the last 2 or 3 years. It was old steel industrial sash and has been replaced with thermally broken, thermal glazed aluminum window frames. They had about 2 feet or more of water inside of this house and sustained, according to the Building Inspections Department, over 50% damage and are being required to meet city and state codes in that respect. And part of that is meeting the zoning ordinance, which requires them to raise the house 4 feet. So that is a major part of this proposal, is to raise this house 4 feet. And then while we are doing that, let's face it, you're not going to be jumping up to the front door, so we have to put in a set of stairs. That led us to put in a portico on the front of the house. The rear of the house, we felt that it would enhance the value of the house in order to put a rear deck, so you can see that in our plan later on. But let's take a quick look at all sides of this structure. So this is the side that faces the street. I may be going the wrong way. There we go. Whoa, all the way to the back? Oh, I see what's happening. I'm hitting the... Now, another part of this, the siding and the gables is asbestos shingles, and so we're having to replace those as well. One of the things that we feel is important about this project is removing this upper portion of roof. The house, in years past, had a second tenant up on the second floor, but when the house was air conditioned, the tenant was no longer allowed to live there, and all of the air conditioning ductwork rests on the floor structure of that former apartment. And so it's no longer being used as an apartment. We want to get that roof off, which is a problem for leaks, and get the roofs make the roof coplanar again. In a like manner, I'm going the wrong way. We are not planning on raising the blockwork of the little addition that you see right here. We're going to tear that roof off, add blockwork to the top of the existing blockwork, and put in a new floor inside and a new roof. And you'll see that in the drawings as well. So let's get away from that and go to the drawings. You can see it's really very small. It's around 800 or 900 square feet total interior space. We're putting new entrance portico and stairs on the east end, a new deck on the west end, and that would be accessed through a new door right here. On the front, you can see the new portico. The sides, we're proposing using hardy panel cement board with a louvered vent. The rear, you can see the new deck right here, proposing a cable rail type of deck, and then new blockwork up here with the hardy panel and the smaller gable that we're proposing over that rear elevation. Roof angles would be the same as the roof on the original house. And since the house had the industrial sash and it's got a concrete block for an exterior finish, we're proposing that we stick with the industrial character of the structure. That's why we're proposing cable rails and using hardy panel and those type of materials, as well as the smart vents that would be stainless steel, so that they keep that stainless steel character. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone who has been notified who is a proponent of this project who would like to speak? Seeing none, is there anyone who was notified who is opponent of this project who would like to speak? Seeing none, then there's not a rebuttal by the applicant. Is there anyone who has relevant evidence or has standing who would like to speak? Seeing none, we will go to the HPC administrator's staff findings and recommendations.
Madam Chairman, I make one last comment I forgot. Even though we are taking the fireplace out on the inside of the structure, we're leaving the existing chimney and framing structural steel to hold it in place.
Thank you, sir. Someone would have asked you that question. You knew that. Okay. Mr. Administrator?
Sure. Staff submits the following historic district guidelines as appropriate to this application. Windows, door, no, I'm reading the wrong one, sorry. Hold on. I have saved to the same document twice.
Yes, you did.
I don't have a recommendation. But the recommendation was to approve the changes. I don't have the guidelines off that I had written down
Okay.
handy.
All right. So the recommendation from the staff finding was to approve this application as presented. Anybody from the city, state, or any government official? Seeing none. Members of the commission, what discussion would you like to have or questions to ask?
This is a non-contributing structure, yes?
I don't know. I assume it's not contributing.
It was built, and when it was built when?
That's why it's,
When was it built? 1950?
1950, circa 1950.
So it's a contributing structure because it's 50 years old.
70 years old now.
Yeah, it's a contributing structure.
Just because the structure is old does not mean it's necessarily contributing.
But if it's more than 50 years old,
It's contributing.
it's
It also
contributing.
has to demonstrate some historical relevance
Okay. All right, any other discussion?
Is it listed in our nomination letter?
It's in the nomination letter, yeah.
Well, that will say for sure what it is. Anybody have that?
I have no questions.
I brought the sandbag book, but it doesn't have it in there. It just has it in the
I don't think I have it either.
survey. Let me see if I've got a copy.
While Brad's searching, I think I know where this is. What are the exterior materials on the building? Isn't it concrete block?
Concrete block with cement, asbestos, shingles.
Sir, if you could come up to the microphone so it's recorded. Sir?
It's concrete block with cement, asbestos, shingles in the gable ends,
Right.
and then asphalt shingles for the roof.
Yeah. And so that's kind of an anomaly for our district.
Right. Not only is it concrete block, but where the corners meet, it's bullnose concrete block, which means that it's rounded.
Someone with an eye for detail.
Someone had an eye for detail. They did it at the window openings as well.
Yeah.
Got that, Rick?
So even if this were infill today, I doubt we'd allow it.
No, we would not.
So to answer our non-contributing question, being that it's non-conforming, I would assume it's non-contributing.
Even though it's 1950?
Well,
The age in and of itself doesn't speak to the architectural significance of it, and it's so out of character with everything that's around it.
yeah. So
We're basically just trying to clean it up, I guess is the best way to put it.
And raise it up.
And raise it up, yes.
but we do, just so you know, have some guidelines for situations like this, or at least a outline of procedure. See if I can put my fingers on it. I think it's on page 1-8. And that doesn't exactly say what I thought it would say, but it would essentially, I agree that just because it's more than 50 years old doesn't necessarily make it a contributing structure. And
Well,
there's-
and I
there-
think this allows for it under non.
Exactly, and so I believe the four of us have the authority to make that determination
Correct?
for tonight if we so
Yes,
so
yes.
wish.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So in my mind, that goes a long way. I picked up pretty early on when you mentioned the asbestos shingles, replacing it with the hardy board, and my radar started going off, so to speak, but now I see why. Given the nonconformity of the building, and I don't see a problem with it being treated as an infill type project, because it is one. It's just not one that would be approved today if it were brought before us, because of the exterior finish material. We've got some
Yes.
specific guidelines that would require something more substantial than that. But obviously, because it's here, this is what the applicant's allowed to work with.
Yeah, this is a real anomaly from what y'all commonly deal with.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Ken, your picture shows some, I'm gonna say shrubs. Is that what's around the house?
That's what we want to put around the house in order to help mask the fact that it is so high.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I didn't mention it this time, but I did mention at the design review, we also want to bring infill of roughly 2 feet in order to help mask the fact that it's going up so high.
Right,
That also helps shorten our steps too.
right. And I see some trees there. Are those trees that are already there, or are these trees that you're going to plant?
That's an existing, in the location of the existing tree. It's not the same type of tree.
Okay.
This is hypothetical just to give some scale.
Okay. So you don't intend on planting that tree?
We're not sure yet.
Okay. That's not in your application,
It's not in
right?
our application.
It's not in
No.
your application. It is, okay. All right. And once you raise it up, it'll be meeting the guidelines? The
It'll
4
be
foot?
meeting the elevation requirements.
Yes. Okay. All right, are there any other questions that any commissioner would like to ask at this time? Hearing none, I call for a motion regarding this application.
I'm working.
Collecting numbers. Recommendations, modifications, recommendations, entrances, materials, decks, infill. No, I'm just used to it.
All right, I'll hazard a motion, and my colleagues can help me out if
This
I overlook something terribly important. I move that we find the application for 715 East Front Street to be not incongruous with New Bern's Code of Ordinances, Section 15411, 15429, and New Bern's Historic District Guidelines, specifically citing the guidelines for entrances 4.4.4, which alludes to the fact that residences should have a logical and appropriate porch-type entrance, which is included in the proposal, and also citing guidelines for decks and patios, 4.6.2, which addresses the location of a deck essentially being in a tertiary area. My statement of reasons is that, first of all, we've concluded tonight it's a non-contributing, non-conforming structure, and that it's best treated as infill-type construction. And my second statement of reason, there's some demolition involved on the second floor, and I'd say that that second floor addition is not original to the construction, and therefore there's no reason for us to object to its removal. And then the only condition I suggest is that a landscaping plan, once it's developed, come back for approval in the future to staff.
A motion has been made to approve this application. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion of the application? Everybody understand what we're voting on? Okay? All those in favor of the application, say yay.
Yay.
Those opposed? None? So the application is approved. Do we have a motion to issue a COA?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? There is none, so your COA is approved. You will, okay? You can come back now. It's your second trip tonight, getting your exercise.
If it's one more time, why don't you talk about that?
Can we have an overview of the next application?
Sure. It's 205 King Street to include the removal of one window on the left side of the house to be replaced by a new smaller wood window, and the repair/replacement of wood siding is required. And there's a representative of the applicant here to speak.
Are there any conflicts of interest from the members?
Ellen?
No, remarkably.
Are there any issues on the application's completeness? Hearing none. Sir, if you could present once you get your materials organized.
So, this is somewhat new to me. I wasn't at plan review, but my father's out of town today, so I've volunteered to help with it. The application here is for replacing and reducing the size of the window on the side of the house. It's the tertiary point of view, which I should be able to get to here. The purpose of it is he's changing the footprint of the house. The house at 205 King Street was Hurricane Florence damaged. The entire bottom of the house has been gutted. My father's purchasing the house with the intention to move downtown, but as they're well into their 60s, they want to have first floor living. The house was not designed with any first floor bedrooms. So in putting a bedroom in the first floor, he's relocating the kitchen. The relocation of the kitchen requires a smaller window in this portion of the house in order to fit cabinets, kitchen cabinetry. So I'll see if I can. Here you can see the floor plan and the location of the window that we will view in the pictures. That's the window that is being replaced and downsized. He's also making the window smaller to align with the tops of the other windows on the side of the house, which we can see here. These are interior pictures of the home as it exists right now. Obviously gutted from the storm. And you can see also in this photo a window that has previously been removed from the house. This is showing the window and also showing the visibility or lack thereof that you would have from the road on King Street. You know, these houses are maybe 10 feet apart, and it's a long way down the back of the house. So again, just the poorly removed previous window, the shape of the siding that you can see there that will need to be replaced and repaired. Okay, and now we're actually at pictures of the location that the window is. You can see in this photo, again, this appears, as best of our knowledge, to not be the original portion of the house. The house, I believe, is dated to 1903. I don't have the deeds, I don't have the records, but our belief is that this portion of the house was added afterwards. And you can see the window in question here. This illustration is of a shorter window in order to match the height of the two windows on that side of the house. So this is a view of the front of the house. Just showing King Street, where actually the window to be removed is going to be on the left, but the window going in would be to match the design of the existing windows on the home, with the replacement wood sash so they can be opened. My father has also proposed that he have his contractor remove the window as carefully as possible and donate it to the historic preservation to be used in need, if anything, anyone needs to relocate. Just a flyer on the window itself. And so, do you have the other? I don't find anything else. Any other pictures of a folk were noteworthy? In his PDF. So that was okay. Yeah, that was I don't know that there's anything here other than maybe a better picture of the house. So obviously the siding repair goes without saying, and will be kept in the same manner. And then just a little better photo of the actual condition of the windows, all of which are not pristine. And just, I think that if I just go back to that. Well, again, just the primary purpose again is just to be able to place a to relocate the kitchen to be able to have a first floor bedroom. Again, it is far from a primary point of view of the house itself, and we'd be doing so with materials to match what's there. So, I think that's all I have to present.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to, who's been notified, who is a proponent of this project that would like to speak? Seeing none. Is there anyone in the audience who is a notified opponent of this project who would like to speak? Seeing none. There is no need for a rebuttal. Is there anyone in the audience with relevant evidence and has standing who would like to speak? Seeing none. If the HPC administrator could provide staff findings and recommendations.
Sure. Staff submits the following historic district guidelines as appropriate to this application. 4.3.1 and 4.3.2 statements of reason based on the information contained in the application and staff's judgment are the proposed window removal will have limited visual impact on the passerby. The proposed project is not incongruous with guidelines. Staff recommends the Commission approve the application for major exterior alterations at this time, citing the aforementioned guidelines. And I would also like to make a note that Mr. Straight intends to take the window to be removed and to preserve that and to hand it off to perhaps a Preservation Society and whoever might be able to make use of the existing window there.
Okay. But is there anybody in the audience from the city, state, or government body who would like to make a statement? Seeing none. Sir, would you like to make any final comments? Okay. So, members of the commission, any questions, discussion that you all would like to have at this time?
I just would like to say that when your father presented this at the design review, he did a very good job in describing what he needed. And I do understand that the smaller window is needed because the window is going to be over a countertop. And so that he said that he was going to make that window, smaller window, more in keeping with the windows that were already there, that was lined up with. So therefore, at that review, design review, we had no problem with that. So and with what your father's going to give that older one to the Preservation Society, historical preservation is a good thing. So I do remember your father and giving this information.
Any other discussion anyone would like to make?
So it appears we have 2/2 sash throughout the house.
Yes, I believe so.
And I'm a little unclear as to what the new window elevation, what appearance it has.
I think you showed us a picture.
The appearance of the window itself,
Mhm.
the elevation, did you say, or like the sash?
Just the sash itself.
Okay.
What?
To be honest, I'm going to be going through this with you. But,
Yeah, that's okay. As Sarah said, I'm still trying to catch up.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so that's the only new kind of item I saw. Is that what we're proposing, that center?
That is, I believe, the dimensions to match the height of the other windows. So they were 65 inches tall, so going to a 49-inch tall to be
Okay.
to change the elevation to fit the cabinetry.
Yeah, and so, do you understand 2/2 sash?
To be frank, I'm sure my father does, but I do not.
Okay, well, that's fine. And so what you're showing in that diagram appears to be something different than a double hung window.
But I think
The materials attached at the bottom here, I believe, showed the double hung window. I
Okay.
think I clicked away from that. Let me see if that was.
there we go.
There you are.
Okay.
That's
Is
a
that-
four
So
over-
that's what you want to put in.
Okay.
that looks like
Right.
a 4/4.
Well, it does, but
But that's basically what
That's
the window looks like.
Yeah, so that's very different from the other. I'm just asking for clarification of which overall configuration
Yeah,
are we being asked to approve.
Okay. My understanding was that that illustration was simply there for measurement, and that this is the actual window
Okay.
being proposed.
So what the numbers mean are the number of panes in the window. So if you have a sash and
Okay.
that's your dividing line,
Sure.
then what
Yeah.
you see on your house right now is 2 panes over 2 panes.
Understood.
So hence 2 over 2.
Okay.
Or if you look at your little picture on the bottom there,
Right.
it's 4 panes over 4 panes, 4 over 4. So this house, the existing windows need to be matched to the new window, or the new window needs to be matched to the existing windows, however one would like to say it.
Understood.
Well, I do remember back in the design we did, it was exactly like the other windows,
Okay.
it's just gonna be shorter
Okay.
because of the cabinetry in the kitchen.
That can be, you know, put into the.
It can.
Okay, so that can be.
And so I also realize you're filling in, is the width of the window approximately the same as the width of the one it is replacing? Do we know?
I'm looking to see if I have that information on here.
And I'll just go ahead and assume you're going to say yes, or
Yes,
if not,
certainly I
you're going to
realize
say
that
it's
there would
going
be
to
a
be
different
close.
window.
And, I would just want to make sure you're going to retain the wide surround, and
certainly.
that you had a thick sill
Yeah.
appearance on the outside that would
To match the
that
existing.
would match
yes,
the
absolutely.
others, even though the dimensions
The dimensions
are
themselves
slightly
may be
changed.
smaller, but yes, the appearance would need to match, certainly.
And then any siding that would have to be adjusted, that could be replaced in kind.
I believe they mentioned extensive siding repair with this
Okay.
house.
Yeah, siding repair was part of the presentation, or part of the application, rather.
And so my last silly question that I always have to ask when we're looking at windows is, I'm sure these are true divided light or simulated divided light windows.
He doesn't know what that
Yeah,
means.
that's beyond me.
And you'll say yes,
Yes.
they will be.
Just,
Right.
You're saying yes,
Yes.
it will be that way?
yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I'm having a little fun with you, I'm sorry.
I'll save my jokes.
Okay. You're allowed to retaliate.
I'll wait until after.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. All right. If you want to make a motion,
You want me to make a motion?
please.
Yes.
Yes,
We have.
we need a
various
motion.
Recommendations, right?
If there's no more discussion, we need a motion.
How about recommendation?
I've already read the recommendations.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll move that we find the application for 205 King Street to be not incongruous with New Bern's Code of Ordinance, Sections 15.411 to 15.429, and New Bern's Historic District Guidelines based on the following findings of fact. Windows, doors, and openings, 4.3.1, 4.3.2, and 4.3.3. Statement of reason being the material is appropriate for a contributing structure. The location of the replacement is in a tertiary area, and the one condition that I ask is prior to buying the window, if you could get some material from the supplier and submit that to Brad, so that he can confirm that you've got the right attributes for the window, such as true divided light and the correct or a correct sash configuration. If there's any problems that can't be handled, well, he can probably handle any slight deviations administratively. Way to say that.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the COA with some recommendations that need to be met. All right? All in favor, say aye.
We need a second.
Oh, we need a second, sorry.
So I'll second.
Okay,
Well, I
second.
can do something.
Okay, you need a second, okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Being none, the application passes. Are there any other discussion at this time?
I'd make a motion to issue a certificate of appropriateness.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Could we have a second for the issue, sorry?
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
you seconded it, okay, thank you, appreciate it.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Being none, the COA is approved.
Yeah, could we go back to item B?
Item B.
Item B, we skipped it, remember there wasn't a representative?
You're talking item B on our list.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna represent the project, it's a city application, so I'm gonna speak on its behalf,
Okay.
if that's fine with everybody. If you could actually swear me in, that'd be kind of nice.
Okay.
Go in there. You're the official.
Are you gonna give me something to read?
Oh, I don't have just, however you want to say it, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Do you swear that the information you are giving is accurate and truthful?
I do.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't anticipate being sworn in tonight. Apologize.
Sorry.
So the application that we have here tonight is for the New Bern Riverwalk, and this you can see on the map here is it's a fence that runs along the outside of the convention center and the hotel, along the marina, etc. And it has been damaged. Hold on, let me rotate. This is not doing what I want to, but. Here we go. Okay, so as you can see, there's been some damage to the fence, the existing handrails. This is what it looks like. It's in bad shape, so we're proposing to replace the railing here, and this is the proposed replacement. And you can actually, this is a picture of Union Point Park where the fence is existing. And we want to continue that fencing, that fence line that's already down around Union Point Park, up back along this red line, which has the much less visually appealing metal poles that have been damaged by the storm. So that is essentially the short and the long of this application. There's a product cut sheet here if you want to take a look. But it's what we've already got in place, and it looks very nice, and it would certainly be, in my opinion, an upgrade for the area.
Okay. Do we have anybody that is a notified proponent of this project that would like to give evidence? Anybody who, seeing none, there are none. Is there anybody who's a notified opponent of this project? Seeing none, there's no need for a rebuttal. Is there anybody who would like to present any relevant evidence and has standing to do so? Seeing none. Is there anybody from the city, state, or government other than yourself who would like to present any information? Seeing none. Any final comments, Bradley, you'd like to make?
No, thank you.
Okay. So, commissioners, what kind of discussion would you all like to have about this project?
I think this is great. So, I mean, it's my opinion, which I guess doesn't count for a lot, but it seems like that's a much better product for safety, for public safety, to have something with the pickets are a lot closer together. So,
You made a good case at the design review.
Yes.
And so therefore, I really don't see any need for a discussion due to the fact that it was so well covered at the review.
Okay. Anybody else, any questions? No? Okay. Can we have a motion related to this application?
Would you like staff recommendations?
Oh, staff recommendation. Yes, I
Isn't
would.
that a
Sorry,
conflict
yes.
of interest?
It might be, but I'm willing to embrace that.
Right, yes, we need that.
Yeah,
ahead.
if it makes you feel better, this was written by Nadia, so
Okay.
it's not, I'm just reading it on her behalf. Staff submits the following historic guidelines as appropriate to this application: fences and garden walls, 2.5.1 and 2.5.2. Statements of reason based on the information contained in the application and staff's judgment are: 1, the proposed project is within the primary area of visual concern, and 2, the proposed project is not incongruous with guidelines. Staff recommends the Commission approve the application for major exterior alterations at this time, citing the aforementioned guidelines.
Okay. So can we have a motion?
I move that we find the application for certificate of appropriateness for Riverwalk not incongruous with New Bern's Code of Ordinance, section 15411 through 15429, and New Bern's Historic District guidelines based on the following specific guidelines and findings of fact. Fences 2.5.1 and 2.5.2, materials, metals 5.3.2, findings of fact that we're talking about the primary area of visual concern, and the modifications to the fence is not incongruous with the guidelines.
Second?
Okay. So there has been a motion made to approve this. There's been a second. Any other questions or comments anyone has? Does everyone understand what we're voting on? Okay.
I might suggest we add guideline 2.2.2, which references the urban design plan, of which I think that is where that rail originated.
Originate, okay. We can add that. Is that okay for him
That's
to add
fine.
that? Friendly amendment?
Mhm.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There is none. Can we have a motion for, to issue a COA?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There is no opposition. Opposition. The COA has been approved.
Okay, so the last thing really tonight is we have to do election of officers for the upcoming year here. So any nominations, I guess, however you want to walk us through.
Sorry, did you ask me something?
You need to entertain nominations.
Are you asking me a question?
I'm saying you have to entertain nominations for chair.
Open the floor to nominations.
Yes. We will open the floor now for nominations for chair and for vice chair.
Oh my gosh.
Do
Do we
you want me
want
to
to,
give you some guidelines for how to do that?
well, I'm wondering if we should do that when we have more of our commissioners here. I feel a little guilty.
Well, the guidelines say it's at the first regular meeting in July, unless commissioners votes to delay election of the officers by a majority vote.
We don't have much of a majority, but
It's not uncommon when not a lot of people show up to delay the election of officers a month.
I would feel more comfortable with that. Not that it, because it feels a little odd.
We could make a motion to, consider the nominations at the August meeting.
Okay.
So I will move that we consider the nominations at the August meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passed.
Who was the second on that?
I don't know if we had one.
Could I have a second, please?
I'll be a second,
Ellen did.
but I won't recuse myself.
All right,
Ellen had a quiet second.
so we can have any public comment if there is any, and there's not but one person out there at this moment. And sir, you don't wish to relay anything to us? Okay, all right.
Brad, do we have any information on BTM, their patio fence?
Yeah, the height is incorrect, and I'm currently going to have a conversation with the gentleman before we enter into anything more formal.
And the railroad ties?
No good. We'll deal with that, get that straightened out to make it match what was approved, essentially, or to have him come back to get something else if he can't live with it. So we'll see the outcome of that conversation.
Thank you.
So this is part of the old business.
Yes.
Anybody else, any old business? Okay, any new business that anyone wants to bring up? Bradley, anything you need to bring up?
Yeah, we have a candidate to fill Morgan's position identified, and they've accepted the offer, and they're going to be beginning work in the middle of next month. So I think that the start date is maybe actually after the next meeting. I forget the exact date, but it's somewhere around the next meeting. So you probably won't see him next month, but after that meeting, he'll certainly be your full-time staff member, and we'll introduce you and everything. And
will you bring him on board so he can see how a meeting is run?
yeah, and he's actually got experience doing this in the area, so he's. But yeah, he'll be brought in slowly.
Okay.
Well, not slowly. He'll take over it immediately, but people will be there to help him along the way. You know, he won't just be thrown out there and best of luck. You know.
Okay. Any other new business we need to be brought in front of us?
There's nothing new.
No? Okay. So can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Having none, we are for today.